Welcome back everybody, welcome to the second day of March. That's our second video out of 31. So today we're going to be speaking about character selection. It is a very simple yet still polished way to introduce character selection to your game that is really inspired on Castle Crasher, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle back in the days. Yeah, so let's have a look at that. But before we get started, I'd like to thank the 2 new patrons that have subscribed yesterday. It feels really good to be rewarded for putting a lot of time into this, and that's what I'm doing this month, and I'm really glad that you guys have subscribed. So, let's get into it. As I begin this video, I'd like to remind everybody that if you want to be using the audio manager from the previous episode, you can find it directly on the website. So just head over to the website. It's the second link in the description down below. You go right here in the download section, and then you click on the audio manager. This is the one you want to be having if you'd like to implement audio in your character selection screen. Hit download, and then you'll have a Unity package down here. Okay, so let's get started. I have a empty scene, nothing in here, everything is clean. I do have the files from the other tutorials earlier. This is what you'll get if you install the Unity package. So I have them there, and I'll be calling it, I think, twice during this whole episode. You don't have to, as I mentioned in the past. Okay, let's go ahead and create ourselves a new C# script. We're gonna have one big script again that controls the whole character selection screen. So I'll be calling this one character selection.cs in this case. I also created a folder so I can put my script in there and be a little bit more organized. And the reason I want to be separating those cleanly and I want to make sure I have a nice architecture here is simply because we're going to be importing artwork as well. You can make your own. I do have some that I've made that you can download as well. It's the same principle as the audio manager, so it's going to be on the website under character selection. And of course, the whole code is going to be there as well. Let's go ahead and start opening up this character selection, see if we have anything to do beforehand. As I'm thinking about how I will be architecturing this script, I'm thinking about mostly, okay, so it's going to be UI interaction a lot, so I'm going to have to get reference for my UI. I'm going to have button click to change characters, because in case I want to port this to mobile, I'd like to do that as well. Swipe could work, but you know, we'll do button, we'll do, what else could we do? We'll do sounds. I want to put sounds effects in there when I change character. Also want to put a background music. Because I will be using the inspector for references such as the UI reference, the sounds, all those things, since I'm going to be using the inspector, I'm going to go ahead and add some headers. And then of course add my field. So in this case, I'd like to have a text mesh pro UGUI. That's how it is. Now, of course, this one is not there by default. I have to make sure to use TMP Pro. So at the top here, using TMP Pro, and that could be, say, my character name. I will display the name of the character that is currently being selected. One other field I want as well is to have a splash screen for that very specific character. So I'm going to go ahead and input the position, not the position, but the object that will contain this splash screen, and that is a image. Again, image is part of another namespace, so go ahead and include unityengine.ui, and that's going to be the character splash. What else do we need? I'm also going to be changing the background color of that splash. So to let you know exactly how this is going to happen, it's I have a splash screen that has an image of my character, and the character on its background, there's alpha, so you don't see it, it's transparent basically, and I'm going to change the color over time of that background. So we have a nice, sweet little effect over there. As mentioned, I'm also going to include sound, so I'll make myself a section for that. And inside of my sound section, I've added a SFX for when I click the button, so when I switch characters, and also a character selection music. All right, so now all my references are declared. I'm gonna go back in the engine and I'm gonna start laying down the actual UI piece. So I'm in a fresh new scene. I will create a new canvas. In that canvas, there's going to be, say, a panel. I like to do panel, then transfer that panel into a background, so it takes the whole screen. So it looks something like that right now. Has transparent in it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bump up the alpha to 100%, and then we can set like that kind of orange color. I'll modify it a little bit later. Of course, depends on your art. Let's go ahead and keep going. So what else do we need in there? We need to have the character selection panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new one. Oh, real quick, before I do that, I'd like to go on my canvas and actually set it on scale with screen size and put a reference resolution of 1920 by 1080 so I can have a 16:9 game. And that works well in landscape as well on the phone. Let's go ahead, back on my panel. now that I know the dimension that I'll be using, I can assign specific value to my panel. So here it is. I'll do a character select panel, and I'll do that fairly quickly, guys, so you don't have to sit around, watch me do that. Now, if you're trying to set very specific resolution like I am right here, I want to have a height of 960 because that's also the height of my my graphics. And you see this kind of deal happening, so it's a little bit over the screen, and in fact the screen is supposed to be, like we said, 1080. Well, the reason it does that is because my game right now, in my game screen, I'm set on free aspect and it just takes this size. So I'm gonna go here and make sure I am in the set resolution, the one I want. So 16:9, or I'm in myself a custom one right here, but we'll just use the default one. And then we're back with proper scaling. Okay, so this game object, this one is really just used as a container. I'm not gonna be using any graphics in here. It's good that I have it because I know how big it is, but let me go ahead and delete it or just disable it. However, I'm gonna create a new one just beneath it called background color. This one, I'll make sure it takes the full size of its parent by setting this type of anchor and then resetting all the numbers to 0. And now it's a full color. That's what I'll be using in my character selection object. So let's keep going. I'm going to need a couple of more things. So a button to go left, button to go right. I'm gonna do a new button. This is gonna be the left button. Now let's make something quickly. I have a graphic that's around 200 by 200, maybe a little bit less. I'll anchor it on the left, why not? Just place this manually if you don't like to do that. I tend to always like give very specific values, but it's really up to you if you're trying to do that fast. And here we go. Now beneath that, I'll create one more item, so another panel in this case. That's going to be my splash screen, so my character splash. And I'll just give it another color right now to differentiate it. Something like this. Of course, this is going to change. It's not going to remain that ugly. Just bear with me for a moment. And then finally, after splash, I'll create an object that I called frame or I called mask. It's just going to be another layer I put on top to give it a certain style. So you guys will see what I'm talking about, or you saw it in the preview actually. So again, I'll just put another color. Make sure this is scaling in all direction and it takes the full screen. And I actually lied, we have a little bit more to go. So let's go ahead and create text. This one is going to be for the name of the character. So I'm going to go under UI, create a new Text Mesh Pro, and I will of course import the essential for Text Mesh Pro, the best package that exists and that never crashes. That's what I'll say about it. Never cause any problem in nobody's project. Okay. So that's going to be my character name. Where am I going to put that? I'm actually going to put that straight at the top over here. I'll make sure I have, I extend on both axes left and right. And what else? Yeah, maybe we could give it some height. So 60 this way and anchor that in the center. Maybe up the size a bit. There we go. Something like that could work. I've also renamed my object to character name. So let's press enter and we'll need the final thing. Finally, the final thing. Another button. This one is going to be the confirm button. So when we lock in our choice. Now, you don't have to put that. You could put a keybind instead. You have a lot of different options you can go for. I chose this one. You don't have to, but hey, here it is. Okay, so that's going to be our layout. Fairly ugly, but we're going to pimp it up with my awesome art that I've done a little bit earlier. So guys, I like to mention that all the time, but if you want to have that art, it's directly on the website, the same way as you went there earlier. You go on the website, in the download section, you'll have the character select package, which is going to be there by the time this is released. So if you want to go ahead and have some art, get it. I'll get it from my other project here, my artwork project. And I'm going to dump that right in there. There we go. And it's time for me to start actually implementing this art. So my buttons, they don't need any text because they're quite explicit already. I'll be using this arrow for left, this arrow for, well, the same arrow basically for right. However, you can flip it around by doing a -1 on the scale. And of course, moving it accordingly. For the background color, I'm not going to need anything for the splash. I'm going to need one of the splash, so here's one of them. You don't see them because it's hidden by the mask, so let's go ahead and set the mask as well. This is my frame. Oh, and as you can see, it took the color that I had put over here, so let's put that back on white. Same thing for the mask. And finally, the character name is going to need a little bit of love, of course, because it's not in the right position right now. The text color could be black, you could have it like that, or you could put a white with the outline on it. You have all the option in the world. Text Mesh Pro gives you outline, so if you want to do that, you can also do it like so, by modifying the material right on top of the object. And finally, here's my button. So the buttons, they come with the old text. In case you don't want to have this one, go ahead and remove it. You can always put a Text Mesh Pro button on it. Oh, sorry, Text Mesh Pro text on it. Just be aware that we modified the base of the base material of Text Mesh Pro, so it's going to have an outline by default over here. Now, of course, you're free to create a new Text Mesh Pro material and just put that, slap it on top of the button, and you'll be fine. Or on top of this very specific piece of UI. Oh, and one thing I forgot, I do have a second state for this button, so I'll go ahead and change it to sprite swap, and when I press it, I'm going to use the pressed arrow. Same thing on this side. And we should be done now with the the building the scene aspect of it. So here's what I'll be doing next. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new empty game object. That's gonna be the character selection controller. So it's going to control the whole actual scene. And what I'll do is I'll put the script that we've created earlier right on top of this one. And all the reference now show up. So it's time for us to put the reference in their place. I'm gonna go ahead and put character name at the top here. What else do we want? We're gonna have the character splash. So that is the splash. The background color is up here. And now the sounds that I forgot to import, but they're in the package. So if you're downloading the character selection package, it's going to be in there. So don't worry about that. I just forgot to import it myself here. I only have two sounds, basically the music for the character selection and also the SFX for swapping. Let's go ahead and put them in there, and oh, there we go. Now we should be ready to code. So let's open up our script once more. So I've created a update character selection UI function. That's the first thing we'll be doing in there. This one, what it will do, it'll change the desired color for the background. It will change the character name. It will change the splash screen as well. So everything visual really is going to happen in here. So as mentioned, we need the splash, the name, and also the desired color for that very specific character. Where do we get that data from? Where do we get that information from? So how do we know that player one, or for, well, I mean, my first character is going to be X desired background, X name, and splash screen? Well, we don't, right? We don't have that information just yet. So what I'll do is I will create a serializable class that will be able to edit directly in the inspector, and you'll be able to fill in your value from there. Of course, best case scenario, if you're building a good game, a big game, you want to be having the data somewhere else that is most likely going to be shared. But for the sake of education and to scope things together, here's what I've done. Character select object. As I mentioned, I want this to be serializable, so I can change it in the inspector. And in here, I will have a public sprite. That's going to be the splash. Public string. That's going to be the character name. And finally, a public color, the character color. Now, I'm not talking about the actual character's color. I'm talking about the background color while we see him in the splash. All right, now with that in mind, I would like to keep all that data somewhere at the top of my script as a field. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we can be using a list. So I'll create another header just for this, because we might have multiple and it might expand for a bit. List of characters. This is where you'll input the data specific to your game. Oh, my bad. What we'll do is we'll serialize that field. We'll create a new private list of our new class, so character select object, in my case, and I'll call it character list. Make sure to instantiate it right there on the fly as well. You technically don't have to if you're going to be changing it from the inspector, but if you don't, then you're going to get an error, and that's not cool. So go ahead and create it, and we'll quickly take a step back to see how it looks like in our editor. So here I am in the editor, it's loading up, and we have a character list, as you can see, and then we can decide Okay, well, in our case, we're going to have two characters. One of them looks like this, and the other one looks basically the same, but it has a shark head. So let's go ahead and give them a little bit of fields here. So the first character has this splash, the one we see. His name is going to be Pepe, because that's my dog, and my dog has this kind of face, okay. We can put a color. Make sure you put the alpha up, by the way, and say a little bit lighter. That's going to be him. Now for the second character, we'll use the other splash screen. This one is Shark Key. Yep, that sounds good. Well, not really, but hey. And we'll put the other color to something drastic like this, cyan. Okay, we have our data. Now it's just time for us to update it. Okay, going back inside of my script. If I want to update it, I need to know which one it is. Like, which one have we selected right now? To do that, I will create myself a private field. Private int selected character index. Since we're here, we're also going to create a desired color field. This is going to be used in our update, so we can slowly change the time for our background to update. Okay, now we should have all the information we need to fill this function. And why is that? Well, because we have a character list, right? This one. And we also have the selected index. So with this, we have access to the good splash, the good name, and also the good desired color. So let's start here with the splash. What I'll do character splash, which is our image component, if you guys remember, dot sprite is going to be equal to good splash. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. Instead of character splash, I'll be using character name. Now this one is a text mesh pro, so you have to do dot text, and instead of splash, of course, you're going to do character name. And then finally, desired color is equal to the selected character color. Okay, now let's go ahead and call this function directly in the start. So I'll go up here, private void start. Of course, start being called when the script is ran or when the script appears. Update character selection in my start. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Well, his name is Pepe. The desired color has changed, but the background color hasn't changed. And of course, the splash hasn't changed because it's basically the same one. So we have two problems to fix. First one, we don't really know if we're changing or not. Well, we know the name is changing, but we'd like to make these buttons work so we can see different characters. And also, the desired color behind it is not showing, at least not updating. So let's go ahead and fix those. I'm going to go in between the function and declare a left arrow and also a right arrow function, which respectively are going to be for the buttons. This is the code I'll be using for the arrow. So if we click on the left one, I'm reducing my index by 1, but if I go below 0, which means I'm out of bound, I'm just resetting it to the character list.count -1, because of course count forgets that there's a 0 in index. So if you press on the left arrow while selecting the very first array, the array slot, so basically index 0, you're going to be pushed back all the way to the other side of the array, and you can start over again and then just go through the whole thing just by pressing left. So next up, I've declared right arrow, and we did the exact same thing, but instead of a minus, we did plus, and of course, we're checking our bounds in a different manner. So right now I check, have we reached the maximum count of this list? If so, put me back on 0. And make sure you call update character selection after doing so. Okay, well, we should have a little bit of change in here. Our button should work. Never mind, that actually shouldn't because they're not bound to the function. Let's go ahead and click on our button. In the button component in the inspector, we're going to bind that directly to the function. So let me explain to you how I did that once more. I'm on the right button right now. Add the onClick function, drag and drop the object that contains our script. So character selection controller, go under our script, character selection, and then right arrow. Why do I see it here and sometimes I don't? Well, it is because, of course, this is a public function and it is exposed. Okay, so we're starting to get something. I have Pepe, I have Shark here, right there in the same character selection screen. And yeah, it does work. However, I don't have the background behind it. I don't have the desired color change. So let's go and change that right away. So by the way, what I'm trying to do right here is to have a progressive change of color. If you wanted to have a quick, clean change of color, of course, what you could have done is exactly this. So this line of code, you take the color and then you just set it. And you would have this result. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm actually trying to gradually change it. So I'll remove this line of code. Instead, we'll just play around with the desired color. So just beneath the start, I'll go ahead and declare a update. I'm not going to be using a coroutine this time. I think we can just get around with a update. And here is my line of code. So I'll take the background color, which is the object that has it, the object that has my image on it. And then I'll do a lerp in between the current color of that background, so whatever it is right now, and I will scroll that color all the way to the desired color over time. Now what I do over here is it's basically the speed at which I'm going to lerp toward that color. And I also have a field I didn't declare, but if you want to, you can add another section at the top, like right there. And with that field, you can now control how fast the background is going to change. So it changes fairly quickly here. We can go ahead and tweak that if we want to. Say, put the background color speed to say 1. Makes it much slower, but if you like that effect more, it's up to you. And that's actually it. There's one thing we haven't done that we could do right here. Just give ourselves another button, so confirm selection basically, so we know which character we've selected when we press on the play button. So let's go ahead and do debug.log because I have nothing right now to save. So character 0, so character, we're going to put the index of that character, in this case say 0 or 1, and then its name, so 1 right here is the name. I found it by using the exact same index, has been chosen. Now we just have to bind this button on it. So let's go ahead on the button, add the onClick event, character selection, whatever I call this function, confirm. Okay, good. Press on play. And what do we have here? Character 0, so Pepe, has been chosen. Character 1, Sharky, has been chosen. That's amazing. There's one thing we could do to make this a little bit better, a tad bit better. We're going to add sounds. Now, if you watched yesterday's episode, you know exactly how to do that. Audio manager, instance, and we're going to do play music in the start. So directly in the start, I'll start my music. So let's do character selection music. In fact, should we do play music, or let's do play music with crossfade or with fade? Yeah, with fade. Okay. So we're starting the music right when the game is starting, and then on top of that, I'm gonna go and play SFX when I click on those buttons. So left arrow and also right arrow. Audio manager, instance, play SFX. I want to have the arrow click SFX, put it down here as well, and we're good to go. Okay, let's have a listen to that. Not saying that that's the best music, but hey, you can hear the music, and when I click, nice. Okay, amazing. We've done it. So guys, if you want to have the code, if you want to have the scene, if you want to have the music, if you want to have the sound effects, and also the art, everything crappy that I've done basically, except the art, by the way. The art has been done by, the character has been done by Yume, which you can find on the art channel. She's probably around doing a little bit of memes or something. Yep, okay. Yeah, so thank you very much for that. That's very much appreciated. It's the only thing that looks like something in this project. But guys, as I mentioned, if you want to have all of that, you can find it over on the website. Once again, thank you so much for watching. The files are on the website if you want to go there, download, and it is under character selection. So you can find them there. You'll find all the modification and even updates if we do some in the future. Really appreciate you spend some time with me today, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.